All right, welcome back to another episode of the School of Weird. Today I'm joined with one of my dear friends, a complete gangster, and that is Tara Renze. How are you doing, Tara?
Good. I'm so glad to be on the School of Weird because I have always felt like a total weirdo. My boys, they're like, Mom, you're just so weird sometimes. I'm like, hey, weird is cool.
And first of all, did I say your name right? I probably should ask you this before. Renze, is that right? Did I do it
Tara
right?
Renze, yeah.
All right. Wow, every once in a while. Yeah, so first of all, if your kids think you're weird, that doesn't count. Like that's a given. Kids already they struggle with weird. My kids, some of them like the love your weird thing. Like some of the boys I have, like when they have to wear the love your weird shirt, they're like, I don't like this. I'm not weird. And so we've had this whole journey with it. But yeah, if your kids think you're weird, like that doesn't mean you love your weird.
It doesn't mean I'm really weird.
It doesn't mean you're really weird. It doesn't mean you love your weird, but it can mean that. Like I know you well enough to know that you definitely love your weird, right? Because remind me your battle cry again. Be who you came to be.
Be who you came to be. Be who you came to be.
Oh my God, awesome! I don't research well for these types of interviews and stuff. I've had the pleasure of doing interviews with people like Liz Bruner and different people that like were in journalism forever, and they like know things about me. I'm like, what? I don't have that for this interview, just for the record.
You know what? I appreciate this because this is what people really want, right? They just want to feel like they're listening to a talk versus an interview. And I got to tell you, I started a podcast this year and I've been interviewing and talking to people, trying not to make it interview at all. So I don't give them any prep either. Mm-hmm. But today I was like, sweet, I get to be the guest. I don't have to do any.
It's so much fun.
I just get to show up.
Yeah, no, it's way funner. I was the guest actually for 2 this morning because what's been happening is like they start to pile up when we're not on the road. And today's one of those pile up days. But yeah, I much prefer to be a guest. But what I found was that I needed to have a space that was always giving back with something for the audience and the content. Because what happens, and I've got a team now that helps me do a better job with it on social, but it can easily get to the point, especially as an author or speaker, where everything is like, here's where I was, and this is what I did. And it's like, this is awesome. And here's an award. And it's like, it's fine, and people like it, but it's not giving them much.
Right.
And I didn't like that. So I started a podcast actually kind of when right after COVID hit. And it's used to be called The School of Why. And then I created a new show called The School of Weird. And now we're kind of this blend of weird and why, which has been kind of a fun journey for me. We're going to get into that with you, actually.
I love it.
Your why and your weird here in a minute. But okay, so you've been at this a minute, this whole be who you came to be. And so something tells me is that you went through a long series of your life or seasons in your life where you weren't who you came here to be. Is that right?
So,
have you always just been who you came here to be?
You know what? The Be Who You Came to Be message was inspired almost 2 decades ago. It was a note that my 87-year-old grandmother wrote to my infant son.
Yes.
So she wrote a lot of letters. I got a letter from her about once a week, but this letter obviously was special. It was her first great grandchild. And it was a darling little letter. It read a lot like a little love note almost, that she had imagined what he would look like and never imagined in a million years that, he was going to be so handsome and how lucky that we were going to get to watch his life's, unfold in his authenticities and passions and purpose. My grandmother was super spiritual, by the way, like a total woo-woo type person. And it was the last 2 sentences. It was her life's advice. She said, be who you came to be, love will guide you. And obviously as a new mother, it took my breath away. And I remember like looking at Ben and reading this letter, and I had this one week old baby in my arms and thinking, oh my gosh, like I get to watch you be who you came to be. I mean, how cool is this? Like getting to be a mom thing. I was so new to it myself, but in total transparency, you've had a lot of little kids through your house. And so, that I didn't have a long time to really like ponder this be who you came to be message. I kept using it. I kept referencing it, but it was really kind of like a mid-year crisis. What does John Mayer call it? A 30-year crisis or something like that when I was in my 30s.
He calls it a quarter life crisis.
A quarter life crisis. Okay. So I was in if I had a quarter life crisis in my 30s.
Songs. That's so good.
I love that song. If I
Yeah.
have a quarter life crisis in my 30s, I'm going to have a really hell of a long life. But I went back to that letter when I was in my 30s after becoming a mother and trying to navigate career and motherhood and friendship and, being a wife and all these things. I was kind of so confused. I was like, who am I? And it was
Yeah.
in this Be Who You Came to Be note that I found so much purpose and so much permission to continue to evolve and grow and to be like, oh gosh, I don't have to have it all figured out. Like who I was isn't who I am today. And then I started sharing this really simple but profound sentence with people. And I just was like, oh my gosh, it really fundamentally changes how people feel about themselves and then how they approach work and relationships.
Yeah, which can unlock a lot. And it's interesting how, like, at the heart of a lot of this stuff that we do, like obviously Love Your Weird is one of my things. And it happened for me kind of mid 30s. So Love Your Weird was something that came to me and I didn't even talk about it for years. So 8 years ago, I was going through a divorce and I realized how long after like doing all this inner child work and like how much I had not really embraced that weird kid. And it's interesting because my belief around this is that the be who you came here to be, like some people are confused by that or like, how the hell do I know what I came to be? And one of the fun unlocks that I've found is that if you go back to when you were 5, 6 years old, okay, and you think about 5, 6, 7-year-old Tara, remember her?
Yes.
Okay, so that is actually a really, really good starting point of who you came here to be before the conditioning started. Now, the conditioning can come from extreme things like trauma or as lighthearted as the condition that comes from school that tells us that those make-believe things you did at 5, 6, or 7, which heads up, you're about to tell us, Tara, what that was. So be thinking about this, 5, 6-year-old, 7. I don't know when last time you thought about that kid, but we're about to like play for a second. I didn't warn her, Tara, about this for all of you watching and listening. That's why there's a slight bit of terror behind those eyes. I can see it. It's fine. It's no big deal. There's no wrong answer. But there's a lot of power in that kid that's so much trapped as an adult for good reason. You're trying to help your kids love their weird and be who they came here to be. Your husband's needing God knows what. Plus, you're supposed to be this working woman, and there's all these dynamics, and it's like, who the fuck did I come here to be, right? And it's like, and here we are. And so for a lot of people out there, they look at maybe what you and I do, and we're like the extreme version of like being who we came here to be, loving our weird. We're on stages. We're like, who's next? Where are you going to be tomorrow at 2:00? Let's go. Okay, but we're like the extreme version, okay? But it didn't start there. And for everybody, they've got a contribution. Like for me, the value of being who you came here to be or loving your weird, in my opinion, at work, is that it can unlock a genius that can fuel the growth that I've seen happen in my organizations and in these other organizations I work with.
100%.
It's very relevant to the work I do. So let's talk about this for a second. All right. So you were 5, 6, 7 years old when you played make believe. What was happening there, Tara?
Well, I love dolls, so I was always, taking care of my dolls. They went everywhere with me. I had, many, many dolls. Good. So that was one thing. And the other thing was my brothers and my neighbor friends. I grew up in a very small town in Kansas. You need to know this, 350 people. So there was a lot of make believe going on, and it was the 80s. So
is that even a town? I think that's just a neighborhood.
Yeah, 300. It is. It's like a homeowners association in the city, right? Or not even that many. So the other thing we did is we put on a lot of shows. We would put on shows and we would have popcorn and we would do tickets and we would invite the neighbors to come over to our show, which was really just me and my neighborhood friend or my brothers and I doing really stupid shit that was quote unquote entertaining. We worked on the shows though, like we tried to really come up with skits and stuff that was fun and funny. And my mom had a preschool, so we played in the preschool a ton.
I love it. Okay. So if you think about it, when did you stop playing with dolls?
I mean, I don't know. I mean, probably like junior high. Once I got into like a little older, I
10,
just,
11, something like that.
yeah. I mean,
Okay. And
adults
what if,
playing with dolls is, that's weird, right? Exactly.
tell me more. Okay. So, all right. So shows, when did you stop doing your shows with the popcorn and inviting the neighbors over?
I mean, we put on a lot of shows, and it should be no surprise to you that I ended up going into music and theater performance. I actually was a theater and voice major for 2 years in college. So when people ask me like how I got to where I am, I'm like, it's not really surprising. Like I've always been a performer, comfortable on stage, like creating things. So I would say, I mean, I've always been putting on a show.
Yeah. I've been called Shobi
Even when I worked in
Yogi myself.
corporate, when I abandoned my desire to be in theater and voice, which was a great decision.
So
Even though I lost my college scholarships, but I went into corporate and I did a ton of, I ran our training programs. I was always the one up speaking in front of the teams and, doing big presentations and all that kind of stuff. So that's been the one kind of like red thread through my entire life.
Yeah, and so you think about that. So like a lot of my friends that I tend to attract in the universe are what I call like kind of the like 2% of people that continue to like love their weird for the most part. Yeah, these moments of not loving your weird, not being who you came to be, but like we're outliers. But so the fact is that at 5, 6 years old, every single one of the kids out there is at this like a genius level of imagination. I don't know if you've seen some of the science around this. I talk about it all the time, but like basically at 5, 6, 7 years old, 98% of kids operate at that genius level of imagination. But at 10 years old, the same kids got tested. This was a study that NASA did back in the day. Only 30% still had it. So it's interesting that like the dolls fell off around that time. For adults, only 2%.
Right.
Identify at that genius level or test at that genius level. So I think of you as like one of those outliers, but like a lot of the people that we've been called to serve and help aren't outliers.
Right.
Well, most people, they haven't stepped into their outlier.
Yeah. I was talking with someone the other day. I can't remember who it was. It was another speaker friend of ours. And we were talking about high school and how high school, I feel like, is one of the last few places where kids are still honoring those passions and authenticity, whether they're in the band or they're playing in the, on the basketball team, or maybe they're into debate, or there's something for everyone. And there's still a spot for everyone to like find their tribe, right? I mean, I was the dorky band kid. Like I had no problem being the dorky band kid. I mean, I loved that. But society starts chipping away at those kids even because they're afraid to, they get so afraid of what are other people going to think, and are people going to like me, and do I have enough likes, and am I, all the things. We just start literally tearing them away from their passions, and then you throw in the mix of like, oh, and now you have to go make a living doing something.
Right. So like this idea of like make believe, and this is what happens, right? And school starts this. It's like that playing with dolls and even doing shows, that's not going to make you money. That's not going to be something that you can count on. So we need to talk about what we can count on: math and reading and things that we can see.
Right.
One of the things that I found about this, so like a couple things is with the dolls, just real quick, what was your favorite thing about playing with dolls?
Probably just that my neighbor friend and I, we always played together. So I just loved, and I was the first girl in 4 generations. So I grew up like around a very like alpha male masculine. It's a pretty interesting thing because I was the first girl, they celebrated me female like crazy. I mean, it was, here's the dolls, here's the tiaras. Like, do you want to do a pageant? Like, all the things. And then they were like, put on your tiara, we're going fishing. It's like they would drag me to all the, like, I would fish, I would sit in a deer stand with my dad. I would, do all the boy things, go drive go-karts and stuff, but I always had my dolls. Like they were my sidekick.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. So there was the dolls were part of like this feminine identity. Plus it was like this thing that you felt like was this like meaningful collaboration.
Yeah.
Okay. I love that. And then as you got older, did you ever find times in your like adult life that you didn't feel like you had that meaningful collaboration, especially with females?
No, not really, because being the only, it is interesting being the only girl. And, you know, I have boys now, which is really interesting. I'm like, God knows like what I'm supposed to be up to. But when I first set out, Frankie, I don't know if you know this about me, but I wrote all my content for women. My book is written in a female voice to women.
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't really until after the pandemic when the whole Be Who You Came to Be message started reaching a lot of different types of people that it wasn't just women who were saying, I'm confused about who I am and what I'm supposed to be doing. And it was more okay for women to navigate this personal transitioning and like almost like, you know, spiritual, emotional, personal awakening that a lot of women go through, where men were like, oh, guys are supposed to have it figured out, right? Like you for sure wouldn't want to talk about that. And like, what does Be Who You Came to Be mean? But there's been such a nice evolution of what, you know, I mean, what you talk about, that people are like, why this isn't a gender neutral, you know, or a gender specific subject. Like we're all humans. But so much of the work I have done and continue to do, I mean, women's audiences are still my biggest, you know, I do more women's events than anything else.
Yeah. Well, well, first of all, it's a huge problem that hasn't been solved yet. And there's a massive value to women showing up in the workforce, like on so many levels. And it's amazing to me how far back we still are. It's amazing to me. And I love the feminine movement and not necessarily feminist, and I love that too, but like just the feminine, the role that feminine movement, whether it's coming out from a man or a woman, but like that whole vibe of what that brings to the table is so much more needed right now. And there's this odd kind of like aversion to what is really needed. And what's wild to me, I'm just going to detour for a second. Something hit me a couple of years ago, right? When I realized that women have done such an incredible job of being so fucking patient while men think they have the ideas, think that they're right, and the women are just super patient watching a guy like come up with an idea that they said 5 fucking years ago and then acting like, oh, that's a great idea. My wife now, Tracy, has really helped me with this. And now that I see it, I can't unsee it. I mean, it's nuts. Every once in a while, I'll mention this in a keynote. I'm like, I'm sorry, dudes, but like I want to honor this, is that, and every woman's in on it. Like every woman knows that like we're all being patient. Like these guys like don't even know we have the answer, but we have to wait till they think it's their fucking idea.
Oh my God. It's raising boys. I see this. It's so funny. Like this is a total like random, but you will appreciate this example. We were in Tahoe and we were going to make sandwiches to take on the boat that day. Mm-hmm. And so I made up all these sandwiches and I was like, oh shit, we don't have any like Ziploc bags or anything to put them in. And Ben's like, I mean, what are we going to, like, he was my son who's like the eater, you know, he was like teenager. He's like, I don't know what we're going to do. And I'm like, you know what, take the rest of that bread out and we'll just put all the sandwiches in the bread bag. And he's like, Mom, like you are so smart. He's like, Dad and we would have never thought of this. And I was just like, but it was such a simple thing. He was like, I mean, moms just know, like they just know how to make things happen. Like she knew exactly how to get those sandwiches on the boat.
Right.
But he was so appreciative that I was like thinking outside of the box. He was like, I think he was thinking we just carry them on or like, you know. But
oh my God, exactly. And I think that's one of the fun things about the role we get to play in our kids' lives, right? Is that it's, you know, it's one of those deals where I talk about this all the time with my wife. It's so much easier to help adults unlock the kid inside of them than to keep my kids weird. And like my wife's favorite thing to do is like when we get into an argument, she starts throwing my body of work back at me. And so it's like a whole thing, like, oh yeah, you're really loving your weird right now. You know, it's like, it's always kicking me when I'm down. And like, she's like, if your audience could see you now, you know, and I'm like, you know what? Roll the tape. I'm fine with it. Let's go. I'm fine with my audience seeing this fight.
Yeah.
But she always does that crap. I always think it's funny. And you've probably seen this with your kids too. It's like, it's this weird thing where like, not the good weird, but like the odd weird. And it's a lot harder to like help our kids do it than for even us to do it for ourselves or for like other adults. I find, I don't know if you've experienced that.
Yeah. Yeah. Being a parent, I mean, it's taught me so much just about myself, about helping other people. And I think, just the Be Who You Came to Be message specifically, I think as a mother was just this great piece of advice for parenting. It's like, help him be who he came to be, not who I want him to be, not who his dad wants him to be, not who the world wants him to be. But your entire mission as his mother is to help him be who he came to be. And that is to understand what works, what he loves, understand his passions, help him navigate failures and mistakes and learn from them and how we grow. And, it's basically, and so I think it has given me so much vision and also patience as a mother, because I don't actually think I've ever been, quote unquote, really disappointed with either of my children, because their entire purpose wasn't to impress me or be something I wanted them to be, so.
You're not even thinking in those contexts. And like, that's the exact mindset of a leader that can really change somebody's life, even at work. And it's interesting because the intersection between Be You Came to Be and Love Your Weird is shame. And the fact that we wear masks because we're afraid. We're afraid of what will happen if we don't wear the mask. But the energy it takes to wear the mask and the byproduct of having a mask is that you can't have deep connection. You waste energy that could be used on your genius. And you're in this loop of like, I think for a lot of us, until something happens to like wake up, we don't even remember we have the mask on anymore.
Right.
Like, we've been wearing the mask so long that we've forgotten it's even on. And I think that's a big, I don't know if you talk about this with your work, but I'm assuming that's part of it, right? Some version of that. And I mean, what have you found? I mean, what you're telling people
the whole middle section of so I have the Be Who You Came to Be. It's all rooted in emotional intelligence. I'm an emotional intelligence practitioner. So I've studied emotional intelligence really since the 90s, because I was fortunate in the company that I had my corporate career run in that was excellent. And I learned so much. We were young students of EQ in the late 90s, early 2000s, when it was really just emerging. And so we read all the emotional intelligence books. We had speakers, classes, all this kind of stuff. And then I got certified in like 2018, 2019 in EQ. Okay. But because I believe that if we could be who we came to be, if we could love our weird, it requires the highest sense of emotional intelligence, because it's about self-regard. It's about interpersonal relationships. It's about impulse control and, understanding what fulfills us, and, navigating all of these different elements of empathy, being able to be assertive enough to stand up for who we are. Sure. All these different things go into this Be Who You Came to Be. And then the final structure of what I teach and what I talk to people about is how do you create, own, and live the life that you deserve and desire. So this whole middle section, owning it, is about, hey, you're not going to be for everyone. And you have to be okay knowing that not everyone's going to like you. And I use musicians as my muse in this section, because I think there's such a great example of people who they own their weird, right? Their music, whatever they like. I mean, my kids listen to some music and I'm like, this sucks. This is shit music. They love it. And whoever the artist is, I take them to these concerts and they're selling out. They're doing great because they found their fans. And it's like, that's right. I joke about Taylor Swift. I'm like, I actually asked the audience, I'm like, how many of you guys like Taylor Swift? And it's not even half the audience likes her. And, people are rolling their eyes. And I joke, I'm like, well, what did she ever do to you? And of course, everyone laughs. And then I'm like, but if you think about a musician, they have to love their weird. They have to honor their authenticity, knowing that.
Is that what this is? Are you a Swiftie?
I'm not a Swiftie. I mean, I've been to Taylor. I actually did not go to her last concert series. I did go to 1989 though. I just appreciate her as a musician. And I think she's brilliant. I mean, I think what she's done is absolutely amazing. And loving your weird of like, hey, I'm not going to be for everyone, but I'm going to find the people who love my music. And I'm going to find my raving fans, knowing that like people are going to talk shit on me no matter what. So I might as well find my raving fans.
That's right.
And then the second part of it.
Yeah, go ahead.
The second part of owning it is owning our success story. It's like, hey, and guess what? No one's coming for you. So you might as well be yourself and own who you are, and then go after what you want, because no one cares about your success more than you. So you're going to have to want to go get it because no one's coming for you. And that's hard for a lot of people to understand.
And have you found, like, so one of the things that I've found at the, like, when I think about what's the first step, and the thing that comes up for me all the time is permission.
Is permission.
Giving yourself the permission that no one else is going to give to be who you came to be. Like, it starts with giving yourself permission to just be that person that you already are, that you came here to be. I mean, what else would be the first step? That, to me, that's the step, is just like you said, no one's coming to do it for you. Like, you have to give yourself permission. And then actually part of what your gift is to the world is giving other people permission by just watching you give yourself permission. Like, that's not a small thing. And it's crazy how sometimes, you got to inventory it. You want to look at, like, what did I come here to be, and why am I here, and all this stuff, and what's my weird. But at the end of the day, like, a lot of it just happens organically, I find, when you continually give yourself permission, because at the end of the day, you actually unlock a really important part of growth, which is competitive advantage, by being this thing that is a very unique combination, right?
Right. Well, and I remind my audience, like, be who you came to be. It's not a destination. Like, you're never going to reach some certain point in life and arrive. And so when people are like, I don't know who I came to be, I'm like, welcome to the rest of your life. Like, you're never going to have this figured out, because you're going to change as you age, as people come in and out of your life, as your kids grow older, as you and your spouse either grow together or apart, your parents age up, you move. I mean, you are constantly a work in progress, and we're never going to arrive. And so our entire life's mission is to really be who we came to be by being the best version of ourselves and honoring who we are at any given moment of our life. And I think that is probably the hardest thing for so many people to grasp, is like, so I'm never going to have this figured out. Like, I'm never going to arrive. And it's like, yeah, you're not. But that's also such a really cool, amazing gift too, right?
That's the good news. Once you realize that, like, this is a daily journey. This is a 24-hour cycle. The more you fall in love with that, it's a 24-hour cycle. And the more that you fall in love with, like, the curious discovery of this part of it, the more successful you become. It's not easy to wrap your head around. If you have wrapped your head around it, then you're doing it wrong. And the fact is like, the target of who I came to be, or you're weird, is a moving target, because it's also, there's other elements involved, which is 7 billion people you share the earth with. So it's the way you use it, the way you show up, it's constantly changing. And that's why I keep going back to, like, it always starts with, like, getting honest with myself on, like, where am I at today? Like, and what is that thing that I'm not saying? Like, it's not as much about, hey, what do I talk about? It's like, what do you not talk about? What are you not saying? What are you hiding? That might many times be the superpower unlock that you're missing. You know what I'm saying? Because I think a lot of times we kind of pat ourselves on the back because we're 80-90% of who we came here to be.
Right.
Let's just focus on the 2, 5, 8% of the things that I'm hiding. What am I not?
Well, and I think one thing that people confuse, I think one thing people get confused is, loving your weird and being who you came to be needs, all comes through career, and it just simply does not. And, we put all of as we get older, we put so much in our quote unquote career basket of defining who we are, or motherhood for a lot of women, right? When they decide, hey, I want to be at home with the kids and I want to do this. And
what if we called it an
I think that is so honorable, but we put everything that we're like, oh, this is who I came to be. And it's like, there's so much more to you than that. And, so much of, I believe, being who you came to be is reigniting these little weird passions and purpose that we have. Maybe it's painting again. Maybe it's growing a tomato garden. Maybe it's running a marathon. Maybe it is going to get a certification because you want to further your career in something. Maybe it's taking up a new hobby.
Neighbors. Maybe it's doing a show for your neighbors with popcorn,
or
playing with dolls again.
A little skit.
Maybe it's playing with dolls again. Maybe not. Maybe your son's not playing with dolls, but I don't know. What do they have? G.I. Joes? Maybe, I don't know.
Yes, exactly.
But what if? I love where your head's at. It doesn't have to be this big. I'm going to invent the next light bulb, and I don't think it's supposed to be.
Right. And I think if you think about the most successful people who are whole in their lives and also highly successful in their careers and have genuine fulfillment and happiness in their life, they are whole as a person. So they don't have everything fueled in their job, right? They have activities that they love to do. They have passions that they follow. They're parts of different communities and groups. They take time to be part of their church or of something that's important to them or a value to them. And every time we start working on ourselves in different capacities, other than this main road, this career road, or this whatever we're spending the majority of our time doing, when we start honoring these little weird things that make us who we are, everything else starts to come together. Because I think we could all attest that, like, if I go to an office every day and I go in there and I decide in the meantime, that I'm going to start a tomato garden. I take up this huge gardening tool because I love tomatoes and my grandfather grew tomatoes and I want to start doing it. And I start growing the most kick-ass tomatoes. It's going to change the way I show up at the job. Because suddenly I'm like, ooh, I've got these new skills. I've seen, I've done research. I'm using my mind in a different way. I'm being, very intentional with what I'm doing. And more than likely, I'm going to start telling people at the office, like, I can grow some really fucking amazing tomatoes. Can I bring you in some for, and it just starts changing how we show up when we start honoring these little weird things, our passions and purpose. It changes how we start living our lives in every other capacity. And that's how we up level in our careers. It's not just about getting better at our job. It's about, hey, what if you wanted to play racquetball and you started taking up racquetball? Like, who would you meet at the racquetball court that then might impact your career somehow? I mean, that's how we truly level up. That's how we can be who we came to be, is, by, I think, embracing the weird little things that we all love.
Well, and let's face it, like, energy is a big part of, like, all of this, right? It's where motivation and all this stuff came from. And it's like the reason why adults like identify so much with work is because you're awake about 110 hours, depending on if you have insomnia, per week. And 50 hours of that is your career. So like almost half of your waking hours is at work. And so of course it's a big deal. But I think where the tomato or the pickleball or whatever is that it helps make the work piece matter less. Okay, because one of the issues is that we make it matter too much. And if I can make it matter less, I'm more comfortable in the mess. I'm more comfortable in the discomfort. I'm more comfortable in the not knowing, because it doesn't matter as much. Doesn't mean I'm not going to show up, but when I can show up as my full self and it doesn't matter so much, that looks a lot like play. And 100%. Play, this is, so, it wasn't so much that you were into dolls or I was into trying to get to space or inventing stuff or being a TV preacher or being a cowboy, which I was trying to be all those things at once, or being doing shows. It wasn't so much any one of those things. I believe it was the fact that, one, we had felt like we had permission to do those things. It's the time in life when no one's going to stop you. You haven't really gone to school that much yet. You don't have a lot of homework. It's like nobody cares. Like, you have permission to play, and like it doesn't matter that much. And you weren't even thinking about how the dolls impacted your life or the shows or whatever. So it didn't matter as much because we had permission. Yeah. And the second part, and this is big, and I believe in all of this is so important, is that, like, we all believed that it was normal and even possible for whatever make-believe we believe. We all believed it was possible. And that part of each one of us, that's the thing that's universal. Is that we all back then believed it was possible. And that's a critical characteristic in the world we're in right now. Because there's so many things that we can't see yet that are unbelievable, that are starting to happen. Like stuff that wasn't
we get what we believe. We get what we believe. 100%. Yeah. We get what we believe. You're going to love this story. So it goes back to the childhood thing. So I grew up in this small town and it was the 80s. So we watched game shows.
Nice.
My brothers and I, like, we had 3 channels. We had ABC, CBS, and NBC, and we watched all the game shows. And what I remember as a kid, I declared, like, I'm going to get on a game show. And remember, my brothers were like, we live in this town of 350 people. Like, there is no way you're like New York, LA. And I was like, look, I'm going to get on a game show someday. And we love these game shows because they were like it was like the first reality TV.
Yeah.
So fast forward 30 some years, I'm still living in Kansas. I've lived in Kansas my whole life. I'm still haven't been cast on a game show. And so part of my Be Who You Came to Be was I call them these butterfly goals, or my kids call them like major league goals. Like a little kid believes that he's going to be a major league baseball player. And guess what? That little kid's only going to become a major league baseball player is if he never stops believing that, because the minute he stops believing it, that dream is shattered. Right. Mm-hmm. So I call them butterfly goals, meaning like, you're a big fat hairy caterpillar and we want to be some beautiful butterfly, but we're like, how in the hell could I possibly go from this to that? And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to resurrect this childhood weird goal of getting on a game show when I got into my 40s. And so after years of like actually applying and putting it out there, whatever, I got cast on a game show, and
really?
I got flown to New York. I was on $100,000 pyramid, and it was one of those. And I tell the story and show the video clips in my keynote, because it goes back to everything that you've been talking about. Is like, what is that one thing that you've always wanted to do that you gave up on because it seemed too impossible or too silly or too dumb? I mean, when I told people I was trying to get on a game show, people thought I was nuts. They were like, I thought you just started a speaking business.
That's so weird.
And I was like, well, I did, but I'm also trying to get on a game show. And people were like, I think Tara might be like low-key crazy.
If you hadn't got on, I was going to say I can call my buddy Seb and plant you in one of his audiences. And I feel like somehow he would magically help that.
Yeah,
Seb
well,
is the
I
new
want to get on
Oprah
whammies now. So if Seb can help me get on whammies, like count me in.
Okay, listen, Seb's the new Oprah. So I can talk. Let me talk to Seb, and we can like plant you in one of his audiences.
Yeah.
Is there? I don't know if you're part of any associations that maybe he's doing. What's that?
We're giving Sebastian Terry a nice little shout out here. I love what he's doing, because he is helping people be who they came to be, embrace their weird, like all these things, right? By making these little magical moments happen for them.
No, I friggin' love it. Like if I was doing an event, I'd hire Seb for my keynote, and I'd hire Scott Bloom, who's hilarious, for my MC. And then maybe I would hire, and I'd hire you. I'd hire you for the closing keynote. I don't know if I'd hire myself. You shouldn't hire yourself.
Frankie, I'm just teasing.
No, you're closing, but Seb's opening. Scott Bloom's the MC. But yeah, look, at the end of the day, like tell me this: getting on the show and that happening, what did that do for you in your life? Like, did that do something meaningful for you? Has it changed you in some way?
I mean, it did for sure. I think it made me realize that like nothing is impossible if we really want it. Now, I had to work my ass off to get cast on that game show. It's not like people were just like, oh, we heard you had this childhood dream, we want to do it. So I think it also, it made me realize like if I really want something in life, I have to apply myself to do it. I have to remain, optimistic that I'm going to do it. And I think what I learned more than anything is how I actually got on the game show is, I don't care how fucking crazy your ideas and dreams are. If you're not sharing them with other people, they will never happen. That's because you manifest stuff by putting it out there, and the world actually wants you to have these dreams come true. And there are so many people in this world who want to help other people be who they came to be, embrace their weird, make these crazy things come true. And it was at a coffee one morning that I told this person, they were like, what are you up to? And I was like, oh, I'm starting a speaking business and I'm writing a book and I'm trying to get on a game show. And this person was like, oh my God, I was on a game show last year. Like, I can get you an email address. And
that's how it started?
That's how I ended up actually finally making some decent traction, because other things were just going into the black hole universe of the internet of me going online and finding places to apply to. It literally took me putting it out into the world and people being like, I think Tara's lost her mind. Like, she quit this really great job she had. She went all in on writing a book, but it's clearly, and keynote speaking, but it's clearly not going very well because she's telling everyone she's trying to get on a game show to win like a grandfather clock or some money or something.
Okay, so here's the fun part. I love this. And then we're gonna put a bow on this, because otherwise we could do this all day. So the game show thing, when was the first time, if you had to go all the way back, that you had that idea? How
Oh
young?
gosh. I mean, my brothers and I remember very clearly, we would get up and go to swimming lessons in the morning, and we'd come home with our soaking wet swimsuits, and we'd sit on the floor and we'd watch, The Price is Right and $25,000 Pyramid. And I mean, I can still see my childhood TV and my brothers and in the wetsuits being
And
like,
you're how
I'm going to
old?
get on a game show
How
someday.
old? 6, 7, 8?
Oh yeah, probably like second grade. What is that? 8?
Maybe. Second grade might be 7. So 7, 8 years old. So it's interesting because in addition to throwing shows and dolls, one of the things you were doing back then was imagining being on a game show.
Yeah.
And then you were. And so there is something very powerful that no one can take away from you. And I love that you did that, because I think that those are things like as I've done that as an adult, like I've always wanted to fly. So I did the work to become a pilot. And then I always wanted to invent something, and I finally just gave in and did something crazy and invented something, which actually ended up being the product I sold to a Fortune 500. As I started to lean into some of this weird stuff that was out there, I ended up going to India and started a company, and I'd never been there. It's all kinds of weird stuff that once we dial into what really matters to us, and then, yeah, you got to do crazy stuff. I had to do all kinds of crazy shit to make that happen.
Yeah.
But it starts with a singularity of focus, if you will, and even knowing that, and then giving your self permission to go all in.
Yeah. And it was never about winning. I did win. I failed epically in the first part of the game show, but then I had a major comeback, and I won $112,000. So it was a huge win, but it was a major set. I got roasted by Michael Strahan on national TV because I lost the first section, and he was like, "Did you think I said that Lance Armstrong was an astronaut?" Which, if you know me well enough, I say some really ding-a-ling things sometimes. Oh my God. So it wasn't a surprise.
You would be best friends with my wife. That's a very, very Tracyism type thing.
Yes, yes. And so Michael Strahan was like, "Did you think he was going to ride his bike to the moon?" And it was almost a $40,000 mistake because I was up to win this money. But it was at that point in time that when I was like, "Oh my God, I'm such an idiot." All my self-sabotaging beliefs ignited, and I remember being in between on the game show and having kind of what we talked about just a second ago, this moment of you're only human. They cast you for a reason. This is your childhood dream. This is a game. Go play. Have fun. Just who cares? You're on the show. Don't let this moment define you of I'm so stupid. I totally messed up. I mean, I knew I was going to get roasted for this literally for the rest of my life. I still get people make fun of me for Lance Armstrong.
You don't know. There could be a bike that goes to the moon. We don't know.
Hey, I'm counting on you to. This is maybe your big idea right now, Frankie.
Yeah, I like the. I mean, I'm kind of digging this ride a bike to the moon thing. I'm in. We don't know. It could be a bike.
We don't.
That sounds great. All right, so Tara, before you go, what's the thing? People listening, they're like, "All right, I like it. I've been wanting to kind of be who I came here to be," or I think this might be something I need to get back to. What's the first step? What's a small first step people can do?
Mm-hmm. I think I think about what's most fulfilling in your life, and not what makes you happy. People get this very confused. They think, "Oh, I want to be happy," and people always want to be happy. And I'm like, no, I need you to think about the most fulfilling things that you do, which, whether that is work or relationships or whatever it is. And the fulfilling things are not easy. They usually require you to be patient and bold and forgiving and tenacious and all the things. And if you think about the most fulfilling things in your life, you can start to unlock exactly who you are and exactly who you came to be. And I guarantee you, some of them are going to be your weird. They're going to be your weird of hey, you know what I really enjoy doing? I really enjoy this. And it's very fulfilling to me. And it's something maybe small that they're downplaying in their lives because they feel like it's not, some flashy accolade or a splashy resume or whatever it might be. And so I think that that's the first step in being who we came to be, is really understanding not what makes you happy all the time, but what's really fulfilling.
Yeah. Getting honest about what is fulfilling, you would say, is step one, so that you could start to get a north on where we go to work on.
Step one. Okay. How do you create it? That's it.
I love it. Well, Tara, it has been as better than I expected. I love this conversation. I'm not sure where we
Frankie,
went.
I have loved you from the minute I met you. You have such great energy. Getting to see you on a stage and perform is one of my bucket list things, just because I love the content you put out. I can tell that who you are off stage is who you are on stage. Even though I haven't seen you, I know enough about you off stage that when I see your videos and your pictures, I'm like, oh my God, he lights the place up because you are being who you came to be. Like, you are up there owning who you are.
That's it.
And going all
weird.
in. And so, it was an honor to be on your show. I'm excited to have you on my show.
Yes.
And let's manifest a Frankie and Tara event.
Yes.
Where we're really giving people the tools to unlock their weird, who they are, who they came to be. Because I believe when we do that as an individual, it changes the company culture, which changes the innovation, which changes the productivity, all the different things. If our people are good with who they are and who they came to be and are honoring their weird, like, everything else changes.
That's right. And it creates a world that can fuel all the different flywheels that we're interested in. I agree 100%. Yeah. Well, this is awesome. I cannot wait to be on your show. Thanks again for joining. And for those of you, if you're looking for Tara, you can do the old school thing of Googling her or searching on Instagram, or you can search the new school, which is Perplexity, ChatGPT, or Claude. She's on there too. So I'm guessing that's good, right, Tara? As long as we know your name.
Absolutely.
We're going to find you everywhere.
You'll find me.
That's it. Find Tara. You have a book out, right? What's your book?
I do. Be Who You Came to Be.
Oh, go figure. There you go. Get the book. And until next time, everybody, thank you all for listening. This has been another episode of the School of Weird.